You guys, welcome. Thank you for taking time out of your Thursday and avoiding your family to hang out with us on the American Sci-Fi Classics Track because it's time for this week's American Sci-Fi Classics Quarantine Panel. And we are very happy that you're here. And if you say to yourself, oh, but I'm taking time away from my family, look, we're your family now. That is correct. So what we're going to do tonight is talk
legal.
Yeah.
Right.
We're talking about
on the internet, everything is legal.
Yes.
Valid AF.
Yeah.
Thank you. We are talking about Terminator 2, and I'm very happy to note that tonight's panel, we are sitting in a playground full of skulls, like from Terminator 2.
That's fair.
I love it. Thank you to Kizenweather again for making our backgrounds.
And our banners.
And the banners and all that good stuff. And let me see. You guys, hang on. You guys, well, you guys. There we are. Look at that.
Hey, Madison.
Panel. Let me pause myself in real life. What has happened?
If you had 1 minute, 30 seconds before Joe goes off the rails, click your winnings at the door.
That is correct. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's go around the interwebs and introduce our terminating cast members tonight. One internet to my left, Gary.
Greetings, everybody. I am Gary Mitchell. I am his life partner. Yes, and as tempting as it is, I'll leave this line for the first line that comes to mind, somebody else. But I will say that I will need your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle.
All three things. And
I'll give you 2 out of 3.
2 internets away from me, Chad. Welcome.
Hi, my name's Chad Shonk. I'm a writer and a podcaster.
And 1, 2, 3 internets away from me, please welcome not only her first time on the American Sci-Fi Classics Quarantine Panel, her first panel anywhere. Amy, how are you?
Hi, it is nice to be here. I'm doing all right. I occasionally am going to be distracted by my hugely entertaining cats.
Perfect.
Here to be a random nerd and very pleased.
All right.
Welcome to the Nerd Party. That is what we're here for. And 1 to 4 internets away from me, 1 internet diagonally from me. That's how this works, right? I'm sure. Jonathan, welcome.
Hey, I'm Jonathan Williams. Have a blog called wrestlingwithpopculture.com, but I haven't updated that much in about 5 years because I've been working in the film industry here in the Atlanta area.
Nice.
And don't have much time for anything else except Dragon Con.
Well, maybe we will have time for that this year. Hopefully. 1 internet south of me. Welcome back, Jeff.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jeff Burns. I'm the host of Super Geeked Up, a geeky improv comedy show that we do every Wednesday night, 11 p.m. Eastern. And we also do it at Dragon Con live on stage, which I'm excited to do in person this year. Fingers crossed.
What we do is one fun thing that we get to do on our quarantine panels is to drag people onto these panels who either have never gotten to come to Dragon Con at all, like Amy, or people who we have bugged to death to get to be on panels for many years, also like Amy. But welcome, Amy and everybody else.
And fair warning, Amy, now you're in, you're not getting out.
Yeah, they will keep bugging you. Yeah.
Gary thought, I'll do a couple of panels for this guy 20 years later. But
quarantine's over. I just live here.
Yeah, exactly. And so tonight, what we are talking about is Terminator 2, and really all other things Terminator, probably. But this year is the 30th consecutive, as according to the current timeline, this is the 30th anniversary of Terminator 2. So let's go around and get initial thoughts. Did you guys see Terminator 2 in the theater, or did you see it on VHS? How did you first encounter the Terminator situation? Gary?
I'm old, so I saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still remember the hype for it. I still remember the trailers, and just walking out of the theater just with my mind blown.
Chad?
Yeah, I was 15. So as you did in the 90s, me and my 11-year-old brother went with my dad to see it.
Yeah.
It seems weird now, but R-rated movies weren't a thing back then.
Yeah, you remember family R-rated movies?
Oh yeah. This was one of them. This was a family R-rated film.
Yeah.
I had snuck the original when I was younger on, downstairs watching it. My parents didn't know, so I was very excited for that one. Yeah, something like that. And but I've always been a fan of the movie and James Cameron. So,
Amy?
I actually did see it in the theater. I was 17 and I saw it on a very romantic date with my boyfriend, whom I had met at the Rocky Horror Picture Show in Georgetown, DC.
Nice.
Pivotal. Yeah, it was actually really strange because he looked kind of like, now I'm going to forget, Robert Patrick. Who played He was very proud of this. Maybe this was a bad sign.
Did he have the swords for hands? That was probably...
Yeah, ouch.
Yeah.
He turned into a popcorn bucket in the middle of the...
I wish. I was hungry.
Popcorn is great. Jonathan?
I too saw it in the theater. The first one, I was a huge fan of the first movie, and just the fact that the second one looked like it was such a more over-the-top production, and with all the merchandising and promotional tie-ins and the Guns N' Roses song and everything surrounding it.
We're going to talk about Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. But yeah, and I've owned it on VHS, DVD, and Blu-ray so far. I don't have a 4K.
Okay.
Never had it on Laserdisc, and I have yet to buy it on 4K.
I think I had the soundtrack on cassette, so I think that would be 4 for me. So, haha. And Jeff?
First Terminator is actually my top 5 all-time of movies. So I'm super excited for T2. And I saw it as a teenager with my dad, which I think was an awesome movie to go with your dad to see. We loved it. It was a great time. And it's awesome. I know I'm a little bit weird. I still put the first one as the best of all of them, but T2 is an amazing film. Oh, thank you, Amy. Good. I got one other person.
Yeah. There's a case to be made.
They're very different films.
Yeah, they are. It's kind of
potentially so.
But we'll get there, I guess.
Keeping in the Jim Cameron oeuvre, I guess, it's like comparing Alien and Aliens, 2 very different but very great movies.
Yeah. And that's, I guess I noticed that even then, that Terminator 2 was a super zany action flick, while Terminator is really a horror movie.
Yeah, it's a 6.4 million independent horror film. That's about 16 million today, but that's still not a whole lot of money.
No.
So it is, it's a gritty, dirty, sexy, dark, violent horror film with like 2 big action set pieces, I think. Right?
Yeah.
The police station and then the chase at the end are pretty much the only real huge set pieces. Mm-hmm. So it was a horror flick.
Well, Terminator 2 has 200 set pieces.
Well, Terminator 2 cost 15 times as much money.
See? There you go.
So, I mean, that's what happens when you go off and make Aliens. And it goes really well. And then he went and made The Abyss. It did not go well monetarily. So he went back to the well and said, okay, well, I know what I can get made. And that's Terminator. And made a very different movie, I think.
Yeah.
So coming out of the theater, Taj,
we are on the Facebook. You have to go to the Classics Track page.
Oh, yeah, we got a comment right there. I'm going to make sure that is working.
It is a running.
It's running. Look at that.
We got to get those views, people.
Come on, we got to get the views, man. We got to get that internet money.
Facebook, you have to go to the Classics Track page.
Oh, and Joe's playing it. All right.
There it is. See? 10 seconds ago.
We are traveling through time.
Okay, there it went. I totally saw it. So, did you, coming out of the theater, did you immediately think, this is way better than Terminator 1? Or did it sink in that they were completely different and maybe it's not apples and oranges, it's apples and bigger apples?
I was 15, man. There's no way you walk out of that movie at 15 and don't think it's the greatest thing you've ever seen in your life.
Oh, 100, yeah, exactly.
So, I mean,
exactly.
It's the best movie I've ever seen for that first, couple days,
Yeah.
until I see the next great movie that I see. And then that's the greatest movie I've ever seen. But,
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, probably coming out of it. I'm sorry, coming out of it, probably I did probably think it was actually better. But then when I got a little older and I again kind of compared the two films again, I was like, no, Terminator 1 is actually, I think, the superior film from just a story. I still think that's one of the greatest science fiction stories ever told. First one, but I mean, yeah, at the time, I probably this is like Chad just said, this is the most amazing movie ever.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, walking out of it, I thought it was fantastic, obviously, and saw it a couple more times, not in the theater, or maybe a couple times. But yeah, it was qualitatively, even though I was like a kid, it was a different movie than the first one. It was a lot more shiny. It was a lot more gimmicky. It's got all the catchphrases that you're going to be hearing from Bart Simpson until the end of time. Whereas the first one was this, like we were saying before, very gritty, kind of, as I found out later, just literally sodium lit, almost noir horror. And it's got this hell of a love story in it too. I mean, the greatest love story of all time is I have crossed oceans of time for your special junk. And I don't know. I mean, they are very different from each other, but I will say that walking out of T2 in the theater was pretty mind-blowing.
I feel like after T1, I didn't really know what I wanted John Connor to be. But then when Terminator 2 happened, I thought, is this really what I wanted John Connor? It grew on me, but I guess I get it. But Linda Hamilton was so awesome, and her kid was a butthole. Come on, man.
Did you call him a dipshit?
I wouldn't call him a dipshit. No.
Not while he's got his big friend around
Skywalker
anyway.
syndrome.
Not for safety reasons.
Wait, did you really
there
not
are-
like John that much?
There are great child performances, and then there are terrible child performances, and Eddie Furlong's is quite honestly a very average standard.
Yeah. No, I didn't hate it.
Exceptionally bad or exceptionally great.
Really, to be honest, as far as all the John Connors that have been on screen.
Yeah, I mean, Christian Bale's definitely a better actor, but
Sure.
in that film, I don't know. But watching it this time, John is maybe a little insufferable, but in a way that I buy. Like he's a foster kid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a reason why his step parents are assholes. Like, I mean,
Yeah, well, his step parents are assholes, and
Mom's
really,
crazy.
for me, it's that scene where he's talking about being raised by his mom and being dragged all over and being taught all these things, and then, oh, by the way, sorry, your mom's a psycho.
yeah,
That's got to mess with your head.
yeah, you got to give him some leeway.
But he also has I like him because he has a really good moral code, right? He doesn't want the Terminator to kill anyone. He stops his mother from killing the scientist, right? Or he's trying to at least. Like he does the right thing.
He does.
Pretty much all the time.
Exactly. And that surprised me because it was not that time for somebody who was anti-killing in an action flick.
Yeah.
It wasn't the time for such a thing in movies of that era. And he was like, you can't. And that led to maybe my favorite scene in Terminator 2 when he shoots all the cops in the kneecaps.
Yes.
Well, that's the thing. You couldn't in 1991, even in 91 though, you couldn't have your good guys shooting cops.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not gonna fly in a movie, even in 91. I mean, in the original film, he's the villain. That's the thing we have to remember, right? And the villain, all the badassery comes from the fact that he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
In that one, and this one, in between movies, Arnold had become a guy who was playing exclusively heroes.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't play a villain again until Mr. Freeze. But he, but that's the next time he played a bad guy. So when you get to T2, I think part of the decision is to, of making the Terminator the good guy is that's what Arnold's persona had become. It wasn't this scary thing anymore to people.
That's right. When Terminator 1 came out, what?
Well, in Terminator 1, he was still just, that guy with the accent.
He did
He had not been in anything.
Yeah.
Conan.
Except
Conan.
Duh. And like Pumping Iron.
And Hercules in New York. Hello.
Of course.
Come on, Hercules in freaking New York.
Yeah. But by the time Terminator 2 rolls around, he's an institution.
Was Commando before the first one?
Oh, yeah.
Or after?
Oh,
Commando was before, I think.
Commando's 84, 85, right? I don't remember off the top of my head. It's around the same time.
Close. That's close.
Yeah, it's close.
But yeah, he had become
85.
Arnold Schwarzenegger by the time Terminator 2 happened.
Yeah,
So
Predator had already happened. Predator had already happened.
Oh yeah.
So,
Total Recall. No, right? Yeah, just before that. Yeah, Total Recall 90, I think. Total Recall, yeah.
89 for 89, 90.
Yeah.
And see,
So
none
let's
of this
talk
would have
about-
happened if one of the producers had gotten his way and had O.J. Simpson cast as the Terminator.
Good God.
That's what we had a conversation.
Did you know this?
I only
There
recently heard
was.
that rumor.
This was not Cameron's idea at all, but there was someone else who was pretty high up in the production of the movie who said, "Let's have O.J. Simpson play the T-800."
Yeah. I do want to kind of see that timeline where that's what we're talking about tonight.
Well, he was this really
Not
famous
only
guy,
for
and
a
I was kind
second,
of,
only for a
let's give him
second, but I
this
just want to
role.
see what the discussion is like in that alternate timeline where
Yes.
that actually came true.
Well,
Because he was just the wacky sidekick on the Naked Gun.
It wasn't
and
even
Dyson,
that yet.
Well,
Dyson
yeah,
kind of
and
looks
former
like him.
football player, great big guy, and you
Yeah.
can't really picture this guy running around L.A. killing a woman.
Yeah, right. It actually would have rendered it absolutely unwatchable today.
Yeah.
Like we wouldn't watch it today. It's like American Beauty.
Arnold was wonderful. We're happy.
Yes,
Yeah.
but he
I
was
mean-
a big blank-faced Austrian. Like he's more of a cipher in the first film because he is expressionless, he is emotionless, and I just don't think it flies in 91 to have Arnold do that in another movie that costs $100 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you could buy watching the first one that there was a machine under that face. It was real easy to buy that. And like you said, by T2, he becomes so personable that the Terminator character had to evolve to be more Arnoldish.
Yeah. Arnold was more of a beloved action hero by that time.
And the quip machine.
Movie stars only have a narrow path they can.
Yeah.
And he took the role incredibly seriously. I mean,
Right.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, complete pro. And also he was, obsessed with taking care of his body, but he wanted to make sure that he looked exactly like he had in 1984, so that it would be believable that he was, the same age also, and a robot that hadn't been altered in any way. He really took that seriously.
Not so much later.
He actually said the same thing in the third one, Rise of the Machines. He said he was really worked out. He wanted to try to look the same.
I mean,
It's up to you if you think it looked, but he tried to.
I worked on that movie. I'm not 100%.
Well,
I'm not saying your eyeballs may have told you something else, but that's funny.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about Linda Hamilton.
Oh.
And what a revelation. I don't know revelation. She'd been in things before. We loved her in things before.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast.
But oh my gosh, Linda Hamilton.
Before, after Beauty and the Beast.
I think this is after.
T2 is after. T1 is before.
Oh,
okay. Yeah.
But that's right. But she was just bombastic in this. She was crazy good. And I wish that what I wanted coming out of Terminator 2 was more Sarah Connor movies.
Her escape from the mental asylum is still one of the greatest set pieces in movies. When she, everything from the breakout to when she gets the cleaner and puts the needle in the guy's neck, and he's like, "You broke my arm." She's like, "The human body has 216 bones. I only broke one of them." I was like,
Yeah.
I mean, she is amazing, but not only is she tough, watch her when she sees Connor and the Terminator show up and come around the corner, and she just completely breaks down.
Yeah,
that's an impressive feat of acting.
That's one of the better moments in the movie, I think, is the first time she sees a Terminator.
Yeah, because she goes from being that hard ass, I'm getting out of here, I'm going to kick everybody's ass, to, oh my fucking God.
Because she had heard it. The reason she's breaking out is because she'd seen the picture. But being face to face with it is a whole nother deal for her. I mean, I wasn't paying attention. I mean, I was alive when Raging Bull happened, but Linda Hamilton was like the first actor like transformation I remember being news. You know, where all of a sudden the trailer comes out and she's super shredded and looks like a badass, and everyone's like, "That's the girl from Beauty and the Beast," And it was the first time I remember that happening. Where an actor kind of changed their look for a movie. I know it wasn't the first time, but for me, it was.
Well, Sarah Connor. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Just say Sarah Connor is one of my favorite characters from cinema, and I love how different her character is between those movies. Right, it's such a huge change. It's a huge testament to her as an actress, but it also makes complete sense. Like everything makes sense to me, like why she changes and why she becomes the way she does.
Oh, completely tracks psychologically. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's just so great to watch those two movies and just see the transformation.
Yeah. And she became, for me, iconic, especially in that scene in Mexico where she's wearing the black tank top and that military cap and those round sunglasses and she's playing. It was just like that, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was also kind of a new thing to have a very, very buff leading lady in a movie. Yeah. At this point in time, I mean, you were just starting to see women being fashionable to develop musculature of any sort. Cher was really an anomaly back in the 80s when she started doing fitness advertising and modeling, but you really didn't have that sort of thing where somebody was being shown as like a mother and also beautiful and also extremely ripped and could kill you.
Yeah.
except for, I mean, maybe a few anomalies like Brigitte Nielsen.
Yeah. Maybe like Ripley too in like Aliens.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think Linda took it to another level with information. Because it's not just that she looks tough and harsh. She looks hard. She looks like she's lived.
Exactly.
And then that's partially just the performance. That's partially probably the makeup crew. I mean, there's a lot of people that weigh into something like that. But she looks like she's lived those years. And so, yes, like Jeff said, it's completely earned. This new version of her is completely earned.
Yeah. What about the in our chat room? They mentioned that her twin sister is in this movie.
Yes.
Tell us about this, Gary.
Basically, they use her for the scene at the end in the foundry when we have the two Sarah Connors, one being the T-1000, and they were like, you have a twin sister, let's get her for this part.
Sweet.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, she's a stunt woman, and so that was the another reason that they got her. Yeah.
If you must have a stunt double, make it someone who is your actual double.
Be fair, if you're an actor and you have an identical twin, that's probably a good thing to put on your resume.
Oh yeah.
Well, and Cameron did that in T1 with one of the victims of the Terminator, witches and morphs into the guy's face and body after he's mangled him. Those are twins that were cast, so they didn't have to do all those.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah, the hospital orderly guy or whatever. Yeah, it's a set of twins. Yeah, so they were a lot of Joe Dante movies, I think, those guys.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the villain. They had to get someone who could generally, when you have a super tough good guy, you got to get somebody to match up physically. You don't always, like, nobody would think, Professor Snape would match up physically against Bruce Willis in Die Hard, but I don't know why that was the first thing I thought of. But
because you're a nerd,
Hans, man. His name was
well,
Hans.
thank you.
Okay.
But I'm not sure where I had seen Robert Patrick before.
He hadn't done a lot.
Before Terminator 2. I don't think I had. But
they had to get someone to out menace Arnold, and you
yeah,
weren't going to do it by getting someone buffer.
no, exactly.
Or famous. I mean, I think Robert Patrick's somewhat anonymity at the time. I mean, at least to me, I had no idea who he was. Made him scarier.
Yeah. Well, and that's also one of my few problems with the marketing of the movie is the fact that when you watch the movie, it's pretty set up to fake you out that Arnold's the bad guy again. It's completely 100% set up to do that. But, very first trailer, Arnold's the good guy.
Yeah, it never works. Movies try that all the time. They always try to do that, and marketing blows it in the first teaser.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
They don't care. But marketing doesn't care if your audience gets tricked. Marketing cares if your
I
audience
knew
shows
going
up.
in that this was happening, and
But I love the way they filmed that in the front because you completely buy that. Oh, this is just the next.
What's the same
Kyle
thing? The first one?
Reese.
Same thing the first one does. Yeah.
But it's scarier too, if you have this cyborg who can also be this liquefied chameleon, to have him be somebody who's a little more nondescript. I mean,
that's right.
He has these blank eyes and he's got that kind of plowshare nose, but other than that, he doesn't have a lot of distinctive features, and he's a smaller dude.
Because
So
Arnold
that makes him
Schwarzenegger,
look scarier.
I didn't think about it like that, because Arnold Schwarzenegger, outside of being a Terminator, is a pretty impressive looking dude.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be worried about facing him in a battle without him being a killer cyborg. But
Right. Also, he's a model. He's a good-looking man.
yeah.
Yeah, he was a good-looking guy in his prime. For sure.
Yeah.
So what about?
I like him with the beard. Actually, now I like him with the beard.
Yeah.
He looks good with
Oh
the
yeah,
beard.
yeah. So and Robert Patrick has been cool in lots of things since then.
Like Double Dragon.
Oh God.
When he showed up on the X-Files, I thought, well, this is going to revolutionize that show. This is going to make this show.
Save the day.
He did the best he could. But
Chris Carter didn't. But
yeah, true.
No, but he's a really good villain because it's a counterpoint to the T-800, big brawn muscle, and here's this little wiry but complicated and malleable guy. It's the classic strength versus speed.
At 91 was still such a crazy time for special effects, because we saw what Arnold could do killer cyborg wise in the first one, but this guy can do those things plus the morphing stuff, which we had only seen in Michael Jackson videos at that point. So they were pretty scary in the Michael Jackson video, I'm not going to lie. But
remember when they were so upset when he broke the car and then they never showed that music video ever again? It's so scary.
I forgot about that. Why did you destroy that car, Michael?
Why were we so mad about it?
I think we were looking for a reason.
Yeah.
Because Michael Jackson is such a role model for the children. He's so wholesome.
Put the black and white video in my head.
All right, so let's
so mad.
hang on. This is good. Hang on here from. Yeah, that's
Yep.
The computing power in T2 is like our phone now, much less than our phone. Probably.
Yeah, but that was so amazing at the time. Watching that scene when he walks out of the flaming wreckage of the semi-trailer after that first chase, and he's all silver and just does the morph, was just, I remember watching that and just again.
And that's another thing, we had not seen special effects like we're very accustomed to them now. But at the time, usually I would say most, by a wide margin, most of the time in a sci-fi flick, you had one guy with powers of some kind, never two. Now, of course, there's 30 in movies, which is great, but having a second guy with the freaky powers. And he was incredibly menacing. And I feel like they should have just brought him back in all the other movies and just added a one to his. I don't know. He was so good.
They tried.
He was. They just don't, Yeah.
Yeah.
Sequels go. You got to bring in somebody new.
Yeah.
Got to keep upgrading.
You got to keep upgrading.
I remember being terrified the first time you saw him. His liquid metal self, the bars at that one point. It's a fantastic moment. And obviously when he becomes the floor to sneak up on the thing, that stuff's really cool. I mean,
thank you, Amy. Exactly.
You would have seen it if you had gone to see The Abyss, but nobody went and saw The Abyss. So you would have seen that technology there.
Oh, dude, I saw The Abyss.
Yeah.
And they did use
with the water tentacle is the same technology using.
Oh, hang on.
Yeah.
Still
love that.
Nice
Again, there are so many great scenes in the movie, but I love the one when he goes in through the chopper window and flows in and tells the guy, "Get out."
Yeah.
And to be fair, if that happened, I would also jump out of a helicopter 40 feet in the air. I don't, I'm gone.
Well, they also do a good job keeping some of the, we talked about the original being a low budget horror movie, and this one isn't. This one's clearly designed to be a big blockbuster. But it has still a lot of the horror elements in the scene with the stepmom and the dog. That's out of a horror film. That's not, that's not a good time action movie. That's a horror scene where he's got the blade through the stepdad's face and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's still pretty grisly for.
Yeah. I just remember being excited, like, wait, that's Vasquez.
Yeah. And Xander Berkeley, I think, too.
Yeah. So
and that scene really is a great callback to the T1 where Sarah's roommate has been stabbed through the milk carton while listening to Depeche Mode or something.
Probably.
So favorite parts, Jeff, without thinking about it, just
favorite parts of T2.
Yeah.
One thing I was just thinking about that we haven't really talked about yet. I actually really like the father-son dynamic of John and the Terminator, and what you really see at the end, and how much that he does not want the Terminator to destroy himself. And I think that's kind of really the heart, obviously, of the whole movie, to be honest with you. So I think that's done quite well, actually, throughout the whole movie. I mean, there's a nice really bond that forms between them, right? The whole time with him trying to teach him. And and it shows a lot different Terminator than we saw in the first one, right? That he can actually have emotions, or almost.
The growth, there's so much to unpack out of this movie.
Well, without that storyline, the movie wouldn't be what it is. The whole reason it's not just some other forgettable action movie from 30 years ago is that story and that human element.
Yeah.
Exactly. But one thing that, and Gary, I think you have been with me or on panels like this before. I don't know, 9 times out of 10, whenever there's a Terminator panel or a panel where people mention Terminator, it always devolves into people yelling about why the time travel doesn't make sense. And
fool's errand.
Thank you.
Stop now, please.
So we're not going to do that.
No.
Because
wibbly wobbly.
The greatest time travel movie of all time. Do you know what they did? They said, "Hey, you see this little triangle? It makes time travel possible." You got that? Great.
The end.
Greatest time travel movie of all time.
Yep.
And that's all they
totally makes sense.
Don't need to worry about it.
Nope. And but trying to make sense of a Terminator timeline. In fact, we know a guy who it has been his job. Our friend Andrew Gaska was working on a Terminator role-playing game, and one of his jobs was to figure out the timeline. And God bless him. I don't know how that ever worked out.
So Jonathan, what's your favorite?
Yeah.
My favorite part?
Yeah.
Of Terminator 2, yeah.
my mind went a different direction. I literally thought of a moment. I like the part where the T-1000 is chasing John Connor on the dirt bike and drives the big truck off the. They think they got away, and the truck just comes plowing over the side of the bridge.
Yes.
And
The LA River
chase scene.
The LA River sequence.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what Los Angeles. That's our river.
That's
Yeah.
that's one hell of a chase scene.
It was, right, man. Like, I kind of set the stage, I think, for a lot of action scenes after that, movies after that.
Yeah, the first one ends with a similar chase scene, where he's chasing down Kyle in a stolen truck, and it kind of ends that way. But this was like, you guys like that, right? Okay, we're starting this movie with that.
Yeah,
that was our finale before. Now
Jonathan's right. They took it up, right? Because it's crashing off of this thing onto the.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That moment where everything's quiet just for a second, and then it's great.
Now, am I remembering incorrectly, or did they use that same location in Repo Man?
They've used it a lot.
That culvert, whatever the correct word is, it's used.
It's such an iconic
a lot.
It is officially the Los Angeles. That is the Los Angeles River.
Chunk of concrete. I love it.
The first time I saw it, I was like, "Oh yeah, finally, Terminator."
So Amy, your favorite part?
Oh wow! See, this might be a cheat, but I think that the very beginning, the sort of the opening shots set the scene so beautifully. I was just hauled directly into virtual reality in that flashback scene at the very beginning where Sarah Connor is seeing the playground get evaporated, and where you're seeing the machines marching through town like stormtroopers. And I found it so shocking and so emotional in the movie theater that I was pretty messed up immediately. I think that part is so iconic, and also with the beautiful film score that they have, I would have to say that that's my favorite part. I mean, obviously there's the jailbreak and there's all these really cool action scenes, but that really makes the movie real.
I think I agree, because all we got really in Terminator 1 was Kyle talking about the awful future.
We got a few
scenes.
We did. You're right. I stand corrected.
Yeah.
But then in Terminator 2,
not on the cheap.
Yeah, but in Terminator 2, that opening shot, that opening scene, now we're there. I mean, we were, and now, of course, later movies, which we'll get to, spent the whole movie there, and it's not as fun as we thought it would be. But
we didn't get the cool.
The Terminator foot crushing the skull is, I think that's the very first second of the movie, probably. That's great. And then the things flying around and getting a peek into that apocalyptic future is great. But I agree. Seeing a whole movie set there is kind of loses its luster, I guess.
Well, let's do that. Let's go. What? Well,
let's get his favorite.
Chad.
Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna say the LA River chase, but don't look too closely because there's some pretty bad stunt man matches in the with the motorcycle stuff. I was watching last night, and I'm like, those are clearly not the same people. Just clearly, not even close. But I think it is probably the scene that most haunted me and did again watching it this time was the escape sequence. The way it was lit, the idea of coming into this movie having liked the first one, and Sarah Connor's in a loony bin, right? She's been locked away and is being treated like a raving madwoman, and that was kind of, I mean, it wasn't quite as jarring as the Ghostbusters doing birthday parties, but it was a similar type of experience. And so when they so during that jailbreak, and he just lights it so gorgeously, and like you said, the score in it is incredible. So that sequence is the one that kind of stands out. When I think of the movie, I hear Guns N' Roses, but I see John Connor squealing away on that scooter with "You Could Be Mine" playing. But
Now, when the big ending of the movie, the big dramatic conclusion.
Which one?
Yeah, exactly. At the end, after they've defeated Robert Patrick and Sarah Connor does the big voiceover. Did we need more Terminator movies?
Well, that's why I wanted to ask that. Well, first of all, director's cut or theatrical, because the director's cut has a very different ending.
Of what, T2?
Yeah.
What's the ending?
It has an ending with Sarah as an old woman in the future.
What?
Oh, shit.
Yes.
Oh, I guess I haven't seen
The
that one.
director's cut, it has several more sequences in the movie that are actually pretty good, but then it has a sequence at the end of Sarah as an old woman in the future and the war having not happened. Right?
Yeah, she's like in a playground. John Connor is a senator.
Yeah, that's
she's
the
playing with her kids.
I love the director's cut, except for that. That needs to go. And Cameron made the right call. Because, I before we started, I told these guys what I wanted to ask was, why is it so hard to make a Terminator 3? Because, like I said, I worked on Terminator 3. I was a production assistant. I didn't do anything worthwhile. But I think we all owe Jonathan Mostow an apology, because Cameron came back and he did it, and it was worse.
Yeah.
I think Terminator Dark Fate is worse than Terminator 3. And I don't like Terminator 3.
So I may be the only
a low bar.
Yeah.
It's a low bar. Well, it's a high bar to clear out of badness.
Right.
It's a reversed bar.
Yeah.
All right, wait, I want to defend Terminator 3 because nobody else will, so I will. Because everybody disagrees with this, and that's fine. I really like Terminator 3, not as much as the first two, of course, but I actually think those first three, the other ones I don't like after that, those first three make a concise trilogy. Like, it's a whole story. It makes sense to me. It follows through. I like Nick Stahl as John Connor, and again, it made sense what was happening. I love the fact, actually, that at the end, his job wasn't to stop it. It was just to survive and then lead the resistance. Like, that's how that movie ends. And that actually worked for me as a storyline. Like, that's what John Connor's fate was.
The ending of that movie is great.
Yeah, the ending
is great. The only
I love those three movies. I get that. They're great as a trilogy.
Here's what it comes down to me. What it comes down to me is there's no fate but what we make for ourselves. And so you get to the end of Terminator 2, and they don't tell us in the theatrical cut. They don't tell us if they did it or not. They don't tell us if they stopped the war. Not all of, but a majority of Jim Cameron's movies are about mankind's, sociopathic desire to destroy ourselves. Right? That is what happens in Terminator. That's the theme in The Abyss, right? Is that it's almost just part of the human condition to destroy ourselves, but we don't have to. And the problem is every Terminator sequel after 2 answers the question at the end of 2, which is the future isn't set, right? We don't know if we stop the war, but we might have. And then they go like, no, it's just going to happen anyway. Doesn't matter what you do, it's going to happen anyway. So all the sequels feel fatalistic to me. Mm-hmm. Because their premises are always, you just delayed it by 10 years. Or in the case of the new one, it just comes in a different form, right? Which is an interesting idea, but doesn't work because the movie's awful. But so I guess to me, when it's one of those things where I think it has a perfect ending in the second one, where they do this thing and the open road, and did it work or not? I don't know, man. It didn't. I don't know, but all I know is the future doesn't have to be that it can be something else. And then you get in the third movie, and it's like, yeah, man, it's gonna happen anyway. And then you get into all these other movies. That's gonna happen anyway.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna be terrible.
That may be kind of the problem, is the fact it's like you're going in. It's like we have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and every Terminator 3 attempt is trying to shove another chapter in to a space that there's not a lot of room for.
So what's your favorite post Terminator 2 movie? And Jeff, you already went, which we may have to expand upon that in another panel that we're doing. But Amy, after Terminator 3, after Terminator 2.
I'm the worst, because I think I saw a little bit of Terminator 3 and haven't seen any of the others, so I'm gonna get a really bad answer.
I think good call. I think you may have made the right decision.
Yes. You've made a good life choice.
Gotta do
Jonathan.
it sometime.
I don't
Favorite
know.
after T2?
I think I've only seen 3 through the last one once each.
And that was it.
So
that was all you
I
needed.
saw them in the theater and then never revisited them.
Slacker.
And
Yeah.
I guess my favorite would be, if I had to pick a favorite of, what is that, four more that have been done?
Mhm.
Was Genesis the one, not the most recent one, but the one before that?
Yeah, Genesis
the one
was the
with
one
Amy
before
Splitt.
it. Yeah,
With
I remember not
with Captain
hating-
Bland as John
not
Connor.
hating that one as much as the others.
not hating it as much. That's a
Kinda
bar.
where we're at.
That's a bar.
Yeah.
You got to clear it.
Kind of the territory we're in.
Well, let's.
I don't think Terminator. I will agree with Jeff a little bit. I would say of the others, I think Terminator 3 is actually the best film. I don't like some of the ideas in it. I think it's a little. I think it leans into the goofy a little bit. And Jonathan Mostow is not James Cameron. I mean, there's say what you will about the man, and there's a lot of things to say about James Cameron, but he knows what an audience wants, and he's proven it over and over and over again. Maybe he'll disprove himself in the coming years with 95 Avatar sequels, but
Yeah.
but I will never bet against him. I will never bet against him because he keeps making movies that people go see, and what he made with Terminator 2 was a crowd pleaser, intentionally a crowd pleaser, and so I think Mostow doesn't hold a candle to him. The end of that film is really good. How it plays out but it's a little too much of a remake, Force Awakens kind of syndrome of let's make kind of the same movie again. But then Dark Fate is that as well. Dark Fate's even more of a remake of the first Terminator.
Yeah,
Well,
the
what I'm
problem is they
hearing-
keep coming up with cool ideas. Like the idea of the lady Terminator in Terminator 3 is a cool idea. The idea in Dark Fate of if we put the liquid metal around an endoskeleton, we get 2 Terminators for the price of one. That's kind of a cool idea. The execution just never seems to come together.
Every movie's got to have a new stormtrooper. It's just how Star Wars works.
Yeah.
You gotta
What I'm hearing though is no love for the Terminator stunt show at Universal Studios. Come on, people.
Oh, dude, that was one of my favorite things there. I just
Thank you.
I saw that when I was a teen, not that long after T2, and I was like, oh my god, this is actually the third basically Terminator. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's like 20 minutes. It's the perfect.
And they
third
got all
movie.
the actors from T2, like the main actors, to be part of it. It was amazing. And Cameron did it actually.
Yeah.
Well,
He did
because
the
Cameron
movie
was
parts of it.
the easiest way to get Jim Cameron involved is we have a new tech toy to play with.
Yeah. I actually have a little bit of affection for Salvation, but only because for years I was pitching. I never got to Arnold. I got close because I worked with him on a movie called Collateral Damage, which is a very bad film. But I tried to get to him to pitch I wanted to pitch my idea of a Terminator 3, and it was going to be a what I would call a lateral prequel. That the entire thing took place in the future between when they send Kyle back to when they send the Terminator back. Right, that would be the bookends of the story. And I kind of laid it out. I had it, and then I saw Salvation where they kind of did something like that, and I was like, oh, thank God. Okay, thank God I didn't do that, because it didn't. It turns out it's not very interesting. Like I think they could have made it more interesting, but
at the end of the stunt show, like the stuff came down from the ceiling. Come on.
Dude, and the whole thing filled with this like smoke, and you couldn't see anything. It was fantastic.
Yeah, and the guy that like Arnold came out on the stage, and
I'm feeling very sad that I never went to that.
the kid in the motorcycle. I bet it's on YouTube, and I bet I will link it in our show notes. But
Yeah, I just heard they just recently took it out of Universal.
ridiculous.
Sherman in the chat. That's Collateral with Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx. That's a Michael Mann movie. Collateral Damage is an Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, Collateral Damage has the distinction of having to have been pulled from the theaters because it was supposed to come out right around 9/11, and then 9/11 happened, and it got pushed back I think a year.
Okay,
Oh,
I'll do my one. I've got one name droppy story from Collateral Damage.
Okay,
So they were doing a scene with a helicopter pilot. I was on that movie because Bill Hader got me on. We were both PAs on it, right? Cool. And so they had a day with a helicopter pilot who didn't show up, the actor, and so they threw Bill in a helicopter thing and had him yell a line, and that's how Bill Hader got into the Screen Actors Guild. Was one line in Collateral Damage that is on the cutting room floor. It's on the DVD, but it's on the cutting room floor. But it's Bill's first SAG union job as an actor, and he was just a production assistant.
Great.
But I've always remember that's where he got his SAG card, because he called.
You were there. Nice.
Yeah. No, I worked on second unit. Like I said, mostly making sure people didn't get crunched by the crane in Terminator 3. Making sure that we ran it. Said we knocked out a couple city blocks of power. They don't tell you when you're a production assistant on second unit, you don't get a script, right? So we're standing out there and we're told, just make sure no one gets run over. And we're out there for hours, and because they're doing it all practically, and the crane fishtailed and hit a power pole.
Oh no!
And sparks go raining everywhere, and there was this long silence because we were like, was that supposed to happen? Until all of a sudden you hear everybody panicking on the radio, and you're like, oh, I guess that wasn't supposed to happen. But for a minute there, we were like, I guess it was kind of cool. And Sherman, Claudio the Chance of Meatballs was after Bill had already made several movies and Live and all that
so
stuff.
What about let's talk about what might be the strongest contender for a good thing past Terminator 2, the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Damn good show.
How many seasons? 3?
2.
2.
1.5, really.
Yeah.
It was a mid-season replacement for the first season,
Oh, yeah.
and then it got a full load for the next year.
I guess I wanted Linda Hamilton to play Sarah Connor, but Queen Cersei, good choice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going back and watching it again now that I have more affection for Lena Headey, because I never finished it. I think I watched the first season, then I just never picked up on it.
Yeah.
I heard it gets better in the second season, which you can say about literally every television show ever.
Sure.
But,
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they bring in Shirley Manson as a
any show not for heroes. Let's just put it.
Yeah.
And so I just I never dropped it. But now that I have such an affection for Lena Headey from that and her I love her in Dread, and also other stuff that I've come to really like. So I'm hoping that I'll like it even more. Rooting for her,
Yeah.
I have also not finished it, and now Ryan makes me sad too. So,
Yeah, I gotta say, if you're writing a sci-fi show on Fox, don't end any season with a cliffhanger.
why?
Just don't.
Why would you have done that?
And if you have a Netflix show, make sure you got 2 seasons and don't hope for more.
Yes.
Exactly. Congratulations if you get those 2.
Absolutely, but know how you're going to end it, because it's going to end pretty quick. But yeah, I mean, this show never quite took off, so there was no way they could keep it going. I'm sure it was pretty expensive.
Yeah.
What I liked about it is that it leaned in to the whole Terminator time travel business.
Yeah. Alternate timelines.
They could have just made a weekly lady and her son traveling around from town to town story like back in the 70s, but they didn't.
Like a Quantum Leap meets Incredible Hulk?
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. They could have done that.
I guess that's just Quantum Leap. Never mind.
Yeah. The Terminating Hulk.
Yeah.
But they could have done that, but instead they I don't know. I dug it, but it's what I keep coming back to, and what I think we keep coming back to, is that Terminator 2 was kind of all we really needed.
Yeah. Well, I think Chad said it best with Terminator 2 ending on that ambiguous note is perfect.
Yeah.
It's also kind of the heart of this.
It's the story about how, the war may or may not be ended.
Yeah.
And what you have are these small people who have persevered, and whether they had some kind of cyborg Superman who traveled through time or not.
Yeah.
Is what we
exactly.
Does anybody remember the really early comics?
Oh yeah.
Not even before Dark Horse.
Now Comics, I think, published
it.
it.
Now Comics, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They published it was an interesting little kind of dark take on the Terminator, but
It was,
a pretty
and
low budget thing.
yeah, the final storyline they did that Alex Ross painted the entire like 4 or 5 issue run is a hell of a story, and it's Alex Ross art. It was early Alex Ross, but it's still Alex Ross. It's amazing.
They were hard to find. I remember just being.
Yeah. I remember. I got like issue 1 and then issue 3. I'm like, what? Why am I even?
But didn't Dark Horse pick him up after that, right? So there's
Dark Horse
like
picked up,
Terminator books.
and then they let Frank Miller write Terminator versus RoboCop.
Oh yes!
boy.
Oh
because
my
having
God.
Frank Miller write RoboCop went so well the first 2 times.
Oh yes.
But ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't read RoboCop versus Terminator, first take some Tylenol, get a good night's sleep, then, or vice versa.
I'd rather read All-Star Batman again. Thank you very much.
It's like what 3? It's 3 or 4 issues, and it is just like of just Frank Miller robot.
It's peak crazy Frank Miller. There's a germ of a good story idea in there that the RoboCop program is what helps Cyberdyne lead to the Terminator program, and so they're actually coming back to kill RoboCop. So there's an idea there.
I would like to tell Beck in the crowd that that happened to me in 94, 95. Guns N' Roses was supposed to come to Atlanta, and they canceled on April Fool's Day.
Oh, ouch.
I have owned Guns N' Roses tickets 4 times in my life, but I've only seen them once, and that was 2 years ago. But every other time it's been canceled. So.
I think it's probably Buckethead's fault. I don't know.
I don't think it's Buckethead's fault. One, he's not a member anymore, and 2, really don't think he's in charge. But
how do we know he's not a member? What if he just took off the buttons?
I mean, I will say that we didn't talk about it very much, but the Guns N' Roses video was the first view of the movie that we got. It was kind of the first trailer,
and it had scenes of like the factory creating Terminators that ended up not being in the movie, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, and the Terminator going through the crowd at the Guns N' Roses show and like scanning people and stuff. Like it had newly shot stuff, and it was kind of like they hadn't had an album in 4 years, right?
Yeah, that song's not on any of their albums, is it?
No, yeah, it is. It's on Use Your Illusion Part 2. It's on
is it? Okay.
Yeah.
And then there was the scene in the movie when the T-800 is tracking down John Connor at the mall, and he's got the shotgun in the box of roses. I always thought that was clever.
John, I was paying particular attention this time to the posters in John's room and like what bands he listens to, and L.A. Guns was one of them, which is the band that Axl Rose used to have with Tracy Guns, where the name Guns N' Roses came from. So I thought that was kind of cute. I mean, I'm all about John's PE shirt the whole time because I think it's appropriate for a kid at that time, but also the idea that John Connor is Public Enemy I always thought was a little kind of cute. Being chased.
Gosh, I know after Terminator Dark Fate, what I really wanted was more Linda Hamilton, and they gave us Linda Hamilton again. And do we want more?
It worked better in Halloween.
Yes,
it worked better.
Do we want more Terminator things now?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
So for me, I won't even watch Genesis or Dark Fate. I refuse to watch them. Even though I like 3 a lot, I'll be honest with you. You're right. We don't need anything after T2. I think this epitomizes everything that I have a problem with Hollywood, and I'm a filmmaker, and there's a lot of things I hate about Hollywood. That they refuse to come up with new IP, new ideas, and they take something that's been popular in their past and they keep doing it, and they refuse to stop because they think they're going to make money off of it. And if by this point they haven't figured out that every Terminator they do is a flop, if Cameron comes back and it still doesn't work, I think this is finally the nail in the coffin. Hopefully,
I think this is what they were waiting.
They have to stop.
Waiting on Cameron and Hamilton to come back
because there's no longer an excuse. Right, there's no longer an excuse once Jim Cameron came back, worked on the story. Right, you got the guy that made Deadpool. Linda Hamilton comes back. Like, there's no excuse now. That one sucks. So why go on? Like, you gave it your best possible shot in a way as far as who you brought in, and it just didn't work out.
And those characters don't really have anything to do anymore. They don't have any more story.
They found ways. I mean,
I mean, I'm all in favor of more story. This is why I will be a fanfic apologist forever.
right.
But sometimes these characters just don't have anything left to do. I mean, you could just as happily have Boston Dynamics on ice with Spooky.
Does anybody care if I spoil? Does anybody care if I spoil how Dark Fate begins?
No.
No, go ahead.
It's right after Terminator 2, and John Connor, 14, 15-year-old John Connor, CG'd Eddie Furlong, is murdered by a Terminator.
Yeah.
That's
Wait,
how
what?
the movie starts.
Yeah, and it goes kind of downhill from there.
And then,
Good God.
They de-age a kid, or they put a mask on a kid, and they do the thing. They make him a Grand Moff Tarkin or whatever, and they make a little young guy, and he just gets blasted. And
isn't there a voice?
Wait, is he really dead?
Oh no,
Yeah,
he's dead.
he's dead.
So every event of T2 was worthless then, was pointless.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, not a T2 of everything else. It's one of those sequels that ignores everything but the first two, just like Superman Returns did.
Well, I'm saying if they
like
spent all that
Halloween
time
did.
saving him and he gets killed immediately after T2, what the fuck why did we watch this movie?
The war doesn't happen. The war doesn't happen. So
Isn't there a Lyndall Hamilton voiceover or something at the beginning too?
A little bit.
Basically just says they sent another one back after what happened in part 2. They sent another one back just before that and killed John Connor.
Yeah.
What?
And then that's the
and then,
in the trailer.
John Connor says, "What is this? A crossover episode?"
In the trailer, when you see Arnold with his beard and stuff, like Arnold living in a cabin in the movie, like that's the Arnold, that's the Terminator that kills John, and he eventually goes off and somehow gets a wife and kids. That's a whole thing. And that's a whole discussion.
One of the few good moments though is people say I'm hilarious.
Yeah, but it's a very I don't know, it had a Alien 3 vibe to me. Where, you get the beginning of Alien 3 and it's like, oh, remember all those people you cared about? Yeah, they died between them.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, the only way it could work, if you were to ask me, is if you were to do either an alternate timeline, or like Amy said, you go to a whole brand new bunch of characters and maybe do an inverse thing. You have a Terminator that's sent back to keep resistance people who've been sent back to destroy Cyberdyne.
Right.
You've got to do something radical with it.
I think from what I remember, a lot of the Dark Horse comics, which were mostly done in 4 or 6 issue series, that's pretty much what they were. Kind of like the Aliens comics and stuff. It was in a universe where that future happens and Terminators exist, but it's they have different missions. It doesn't relate to John Connor or anything from the movies. I think that's what most of them were. I haven't read them since they first came out, but I remember liking the comic books sequels and not liking the movies very much.
Becky may have a good point there.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Not everything's got to be a franchise, guys.
Yeah.
No,
some things are just one story.
But to be fair, it's hard to remember sometimes when you like geeky stuff, because we like more of the stuff that we
want more,
and so but sometimes you just got to realize man, that story was over. But what Jeff was saying is absolutely true. I worked in Hollywood for quite some time, and it's very nobody. It is true. William Goldman, the great screenwriter, said that nobody knows nothing when it comes to making movies, right? So what they rely on is okay, we know something, and the one thing that we do know is Terminator 2 made money. And that someone might go see a Terminator 3. They literally know nothing else. So that's why you get these sequels and remakes. It's cowardice and it's fear, because you don't lose your job as a producer by saying no. You lose it by saying yes. And so by greenlighting things that go horribly wrong, as opposed
by greenlighting Dark Fate,
right? Yeah, or things like that. And so it just doesn't. They don't all have to be that way, Bond, something like a Bond is structured so that you can do it forever. You really can.
Sure.
Just the next adventure.
Yeah.
But with Terminator, there's just the one thing.
Because honestly, if there was more story, you don't think James Cameron says, "Hey, I want to make another movie," and they don't bow down to him and give him $500 million? Of course they do.
That's why we're getting 75 Avatar movies.
He didn't think there was any more story either.
It was 93 when Chad said it. Now it's 75. Gary, what's going on? Have they canceled 18 of the Avatar sequels?
Well, no. 18 of them have already come out while we were talking.
Yeah, they're never gonna come out. Like
No, they're. But so wrapping up, guys. I think we've gone through like final thoughts. So let's go around, and I want everybody to give your favorite quote from any Terminator movie, doing your worst Arnold impression.
Oh God.
Possible. Your worst one possible.
sorry, I'm having connection issues.
Your worst Arnold impression, Gary. Go.
Terminator line.
Hasta la vista, baby.
That's pretty bad. Chad.
I don't do accent. Pass. Hold on. I'll come back. Come back to me.
Okay. Amy.
See, it's tough.
Come with me if you want to live.
Oh, good.
Nice.
That's a pickup line.
That works. Jonathan.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just go with I'll be back.
That's good.
Sure.
I always love Are You Sarah Connor? Like that, like in the first movie, just that kind of robot, like where he's going that terrifying sequence where he just takes a page out of the phone book.
Yes.
And goes like, I don't know which one, so I'm just gonna kill every Sarah Connor in Los Angeles.
Jeff.
Since all the good ones are taken, I guess I'll just use the line after he shoots the guy first in the knee and he just says, "He'll live."
That's my favorite. And because I'm the host, I'm not gonna do it.
Oh, no way. No way. You have to do it.
All right, I'm gonna do it.
Cry. I want to hear you do that in an Austrian accent.
Say what, Chad?
I want to hear you do the "Now I Know Why Humans Cry" from the end of Terminator 2. Thank you very much. Now I understand why you cry.
Now I understand how you. Well,
there you go. See, all right,
There we go.
lesson learned.
now I understand why humans. Jeez Louise, I can't.
Yeah.
You can't do it, can you, Joe?
No.
Now I understand why humans cry.
There you
More
go.
Dolph Lundgren than Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, that's all right. Close enough.
Close enough. I said bad ones.
He would have made a good Terminator.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. He would have.
Did they ever explain why the Terminator was just like a 6'4" Austrian guy? Like, was there any backstory of like? Did they ever?
I think in
anything of, like,
Terminator
why he was the model?
3, wasn't there the cut scene in Terminator 3 where he was, "I'm John Candy, and they're using my likeness."
Yeah.
What? That's great though.
Just trying to figure out like why, or is it just part of that '90s Schwarzenegger trend where we just pretended that he wasn't who he was and that he was an all-American dad?
Yeah, we all just kind of bought, oh, of course he's an American soldier
Just
with
Arnold.
that accent.
Yeah.
So, guys, thank you very much for doing awesome stuff with us again. Thank you for coming to our nerd party.
Good.
Let's go around and
Ryan Schreck, that's brilliant.
Oh, hang on. Boop. Let's look at this.
That's the first half hour of Terminator 3.
Yeah.
I mean,
That is the first half hour of Terminator 3. Is a John Connor who's like kind of on the skids because he's paranoid
Sort of.
and isn't
I mean, he
good at
goes off the grid, right?
Yeah.
the real Terminator is wasted potential. That's great. I know the tears, Amy.
The real Terminator is the friendships we made along the way.
No, see, that's when you bring in the Tin Woodman reference.
Oh yeah,
Because it's breaking.
I still can't believe we got a Christian Bale playing John Connor movie and it sucked. That's just lame.
There's no justice.
It's just lame.
there's no justice but what we make. Is that right? I don't know. So, Gary, if you want to be found, where can people find you?
Right here every Thursday with him, or on the Twitter here, or on the Book of Faces. So yeah, where you can see me ranting about left-wing politics.
You will.
Yeah.
You will see that. You will see that.
And Chad.
Not on mine, of course, Gary. Right? I'm
No,
completely-
never, no.
I guess I'll pimp myself.
Yes,
Twitter and Instagram here, there. Chad J. Shonk. I have a podcast, 2 podcasts. One called Execute Chapter 66. It's a Star Wars fiction podcast. We read Star Wars novels, talk about them, Star Wars in general. It's a couple of friends of mine. It's a lot of fun. And then I have a podcast called A Feat of Lunatic Daring. We just finished our first season. We are watching and telling the story of Jim Henson from his very first works all the way through the rest of his life.
Fun.
Right now, we just finished up the first season of The Muppet Show, now on Disney Plus, and we're taking a break, and we're going to come back soon with Emmett Otter, and then into season 2. And so that's
Emmett Otter and the band that almost won our Battle of
exactly.
Band.
Yeah. So
The
that
River
episode,
Bottom Nightmare Band.
those are the best ways to find me. And if you want, you can look up my science fiction novel Proxy is still available on Amazon. So.
And Amy.
I do not publicly exist in an area. It seems like people like things, and I like things. Eventually, we all become public. So
True.
I'll just leave that cliffhanger there.
Nice. I like it.
Thanks,
Jonathan.
guys.
Wrestlingwithpopculture.com. Even though I haven't updated it in a long time, there's still some great archived interviews and reviews and whatnot there. I Instagram occasionally. It's at Wrestling with Pop Culture. I guess that's the best way to do it.
Your assignment between now and then is to just update one thing. So
All
that
right. Between
you can
now
say,
and
now
and
last
when.
time I was here, I did this one thing.
Between now and the next time I'm with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Just change the font. It's fine.
Yeah.
Perfect. Just change the font.
Yeah.
And Jeff.
Every Wednesday night I do my Super Geeked Up show. It's a geeky chat improv comedy show. Wednesday nights, 11 p.m. Eastern at supergeekedup.com or the Super Geeked Up YouTube channel. You can also find 2 seasons of my action comedy Super Knocked Up series. It's a fun superhero series there. And I'm actually going to be on another Dragon Con panel this Sunday. Kelly, your buddy there over at the American Sci-Fi and Fantasy Media Track.
Oh, yeah.
Is doing this Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, a Snyder Cut panel. So I will be on that, talking about that. So please join us via live chat for that.
Awesome.
Just remember, everything that was Kelly's will eventually.
I know.
Joe
Well, that's why.
and I.
Look, that's why I'm over you guys now, because now you guys got the stuff I love.
It all comes to the classic track unless somebody grabs it first. But
We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that. So next week, Gary, our topic is
In space, everyone can hear you rock. Heavy metal in sci-fi.
nice. We touched on that a little bit today with Axl Rose and the Terminator song, but we'll get to that next week. And so everybody, thank you again for coming and hanging out with us. We love doing these. We love you guys. Y'all stay safe and join us next week when Gary Mitchell will say,
Fender? I don't even know her.
Fair enough.
nice. Thank you,
Bye, everybody.
guys.